Good morning. Today we are going to learn taxation and some concepts in tax. First, today's class introduction, residential status, tax rates, income from salary, income from house property, income from business and profession, capital gains, income from other sources, and clubbing of income. These all heads in taxation. Set of carry forward, deductions from gross total income and agricultural income. Now introduction. Charge of income tax. Income tax is charged in assessment year at rate specified by the Finance Act applicable on 1st April of the relevant assessment year. It is charged on the total income of every person for the previous year. Total income is to be computed as per the provision of the Act. Income tax is to be deducted at source or paid in advance wherever required under the provision of the Act. Now some important definitions. Person under section 2 subsection 31 includes an individual, Hindu divided family, a company, a firm, an association of person or body of individual, a local authority, every other artificial judicial person. All these are in the types of person. An individual, Hindu undivided family, a company, a firm, an association of person or body of individual, a local authority, every other artificial judicial person. Assessment year under section 2 and subsection 9 means the period of 12 months commencing on the 1st April to 31st March in which income is earned is charged to tax. The current assessment is 2020 and 21. The period of 12 months commencing on the 1st April every year, it is the year just after previous year in which income is earned in charge to the tax. Gross total income. The aggregate income under the 5 heads of the income, these are salary, house, income from house property, business and profession, capital gains and other sources, is termed as gross total income. Total income. Total income of assessee is gross total income as reduced by the amount permissible as deduction under section 80C to 80U. Gross total income is the aggregate income under all the 5 heads of the income. These are this income from salary, income from house property, business or profession, income from capital and other sources is termed as gross total income. The total income is assessee is gross total income as reduced by the amount permissible as deduction under 80C or 80U. So after deduction 80C and 80U, the overall income is total income. Now the residential status of the person. So types of residential status. The different types of residential status are resident, not ordinarily but resident, non-resident. So the different types of residential status is, the first one is resident and the second one is resident but not ordinary resident, and third one is resident but also ordinary resident. Residential status of individual. The residential status of individual will be determined as under assessee. Resident, the basic condition is he must satisfy at one of the basic condition and additional conditions not required. So basic and additional conditions, in any one of the basic conditions, if the person is satisfied, then the person is called as resident. And the second one is not ordinarily resident but not ordinary resident. So he must satisfy at least one of the basic conditions. He must satisfy either one or both the additional conditions given under section 6 and subsection 6. Now non-resident should not satisfy any of the basic conditions, not required. Basic conditions under section 6 and subsection 1. He must be in India for a period of 182 days or more during the previous year, or he must be in India for a period of 60 days are more during the previous year and 365 days are more during the 4 years immediately preceding to the previous year. So these are the basic conditions. In the basic conditions, the first condition is the person should be in India 182 days in the previous year or during the previous year. So the second condition is the person must be in 365 days in India at the period of 60 days or more during the previous year and 365 days or more during the 4 years immediately preceding to the previous year. He must be in India for a period of 60 days or more during the previous year and 365 days or more during the 4 years immediately preceding to the previous year. These are two basic conditions. Now additional conditions under section 6 and subsection 6. So, he must be a non-resident in India in 9 out of the 10 previous years preceding that year. Or, he must be in India during 7 preceding previous years for aggregate period of 729 days or less. Last previous year, he must be in India 10 years or 7 years. These are additional conditions. Now, residential status of Hindu undivided family. The residential status of Hindu undivided family depends upon the control and management of its affairs. So, resident HUF. If the control and management of the affairs of HUF is situated wholly or partly in India, then HUF is said to be resident in India. Now, non-resident HUF. If the control and management of the affairs of HUF is situated wholly outside in India, then HUF is said to be not resident in India. So, non-ordinarily resident HUF. A resident Hindu undivided family is said to be not ordinarily resident in India if Karta or manager thereof satisfies any one of the additional conditions under section 6, subsection 6. According to section 6 and subsection 3, an Indian company is always resident in India. A foreign company will be resident in India in control or management of its affairs is wholly situated in India. Residential status of a firm, a AOP or other person depends upon control and management of its affairs. Resident. If the control and management of the affairs of a firm or AOP or the other person is situated wholly or partly in India, then such a firm AOP of other person is said to be in resident in India. Non-resident. If the control and management of the affairs of a firm of AOP or other person is situated outside in India, then such a firm of AOP or other person is said to be non-resident in India. Now, incidence of tax. So, these are the particulars. The first one is income received in India by or behalf of an assessee. Income deemed to received in India by or behalf of assessee. Income occurring or arising in India. Income deemed to occur or arise in India. Income which occurs or arise outside in India. Now, tax rates. These are the tax rates. Rates of income tax assessment here. In case of every individual in the undivided family or artificial judicial person. So, the first one is 1,80,000. The tax rate is nil. Above 1,80,000 to 5 lakhs, the tax rate will be 10%. And the 5 lakhs to 8 lakhs, the tax rate is 20%. And 8 and above 8 lakhs, the percent rate is 30. Now, in case of resident woman below 65 years of age, so up to 1,90,000, the rate is nil. Up to 1,90,000 to 5 lakhs, the tax rate will be 10%. 5 lakhs to 8 lakhs, the tax rate is 20%. 8 lakhs and above, the rate will be 30. Now, in the case of resident senior citizen, the age of 65 years or above, up to 2,50,000, the rate is nil. 2,50,000 to 5 lakhs, the rate is 10%. 5 lakhs and above, the rate will be 20. 8 and above, the rate will be 30. Now, persons and the tax rates. Now, firms 30%, domestic company 30%, foreign company 40%, local authorities 30%, and the cooperative society up to 10,000 10%, up to 20,000 20%, up to 30,000 and above 30%. Now surcharges and cess. A individual AOP or BOI, HUP and artificial judicial person 10% of tax liability if income exceeds 10 lakhs, and the firm 10% of tax liability if income exceeds and 1 crore, and for domestic company 10% of tax liability if the income exceeds 1 crore. Foreign trade company 2.5% of tax liability if income exceeds 1 crore. Cooperative society, there is no percentage. Local authority, there is no percent. So education cess and secondary education, higher education cess is applicable on every person. The percent is 2% and the 1% respectively on tax liability and surcharge applicable if any. Now income from salary. So what is meaning of income from salary? Salary includes section 17 and subsection 1. Wages, any annuity on pension, any gratuity, any fees, commission, bonus, perquisite on profit in lieu of or additional in any salary or wages, any advance of salary, any earned leave, employees' contribution towards recognized provident fund. Basis of charge. Income is taxable under head salaries only if there exists employer-employee relationship between the payer and the payee. The following incomes shall be chargeable to income tax under the head salaries: salary due, advance salary under section 17 and subsection 1, arrears of salary. Here one note: salary is chargeable on due basis or receipt basis, which is the arrear. Advance salary and arrears of salary are chargeable to tax on receipt basis salary. Now allowances. What is the meaning of allowances? Allowances is generally defined as a fixed quantity of the money or other substance given regularly in addition to salary for the purpose of meeting some particular requirement connected with the services rendered by the employee or as compensation for unusual conditions of their services. So dearness allowance, it is always taxable. City compensatory allowance, it is always taxable. These are the two most important allowances. One is dearness allowance, always taxable, and the CCA, city compensatory allowance, this is also always taxable. And the next, house rent allowance. Exemption in respect of house rent allowance is regulated by Rule 2A. The least of the three given below is exempted from the tax. The first one is amount equal to 50% of salary where residential house is situated in Bombay, Calcutta, Delhi and Madras, and an amount equal to 40% of salary where residential house is situated any other place. This is the first one. And number 2, house rent allowance received by the employee in respect of the period during which rental accommodation is occupied by the employee during the previous year. And the third one is the excess of rent paid over 10% of salary. In these three, which is the least, that amount should be deducted, exempted. Now entertainment allowance, section 16, section 169, subsection 2. Entertainment allowance is the first included in salary incomes under the head salaries, and thereafter a deduction is given on the basis enumerated below. So, stats of employees. Non-government, government. For non-government employees, nothing is deductible. But come to government employees, list of the following three amounts. The first one is rupees 5,000, and the second one is 20% of basic salary, and the third one is amount of entertainment allowance grant during the previous year. Next, special allowances prescribed as exempt under section 10 subsection 14. In the cases given below, the amount of exemption under section 10 subsection 14 is the amount of the allowance or the amount utilized for the specific purpose for which allowance is given. So whichever is the lower, that will be exempted. Now, exemption is available on the aforesaid. Basis in the case of following allowances. So first allowance, traveling or transfer allowance. Any allowance grant to meet the cost of travel on tour or on transfer, including some paid in connection with transfer, packing and transportation of personal effects on such transfer. Now, conveyance allowance. Conveyance allowance granted to meet the expenditure on the conveyance in performance of duties of an office, expenditure to covering the journey between office and residential is not to be included. The third one is daily allowance. Any allowance, whether granted on tour on the period of the journey in connection with the transfer to meet the ordinary daily charges incurred by an employee on account of absence from this normal place of the duty. These are some allowances: traveling and transfer allowance, conveyance allowance, daily allowance. And next, when exemption did not depend upon expenditure in the cases given below. The amount of exemption does not depend upon expenditure incurred by the employee. Regardless of the amount of expenditure, the allowances given below are exempt to the extent of the amount of allowance or the amount of specified in Rule 2BB, whichever is the lower, that is expenditure. Now next, name of the some different allowances and the rules. Compulsory modified area allowance, counter insurgency allowance, transport allowance, underground allowance, high altitude allowance, highly active field area allowance, island duty allowance. Allowance to government employees outside India. Section 10 and subsection 7. Any allowance paid or allowance outside India by the government to an India citizen for rendering service outside India is wholly exempt from tax. Tiffin allowance, it is taxable. Fixed medical allowance, it is taxable. Servant allowance, it is also taxable. Allowance to High Court and Supreme Court judges. Any allowances paid to High Court judges under Section 22C of the High Court Judges Conditions of Service Act 1954 is not chargeable to tax. Allowance received from a United Nations organization. Allowance paid by a United Nations organization to its employees is not taxable by virtue Section 2 of the UN Act 1974. Perquisite. Perquisite may be defined as any casual emolument or benefit attached to an office or position in addition to salary or wages. It also denotes something that benefits a man by going into his own pocket. Perquisite may be provided in cash or in kind. Perquisites are included in salary income only if they are received by an employee from his employer. Perquisite as defined under Section 17 and subsection 2. The term perquisite is defined by Section 17 and subsection 2 as including the following items: the value of rent-free accommodation provided to the assessee by his employer, the value of any concession in the matter of rent respondent, any accommodation provided to the assessee by his employer. The value of any benefit or amenity granted or provided free of cost or at concessional rate in any of the following cases: by a company to an employee who is director thereof, by a company to an employee being a person who has substantial interest in the company, by any employer to an employee to whom provisions and above do not apply, whose income under the head salaries, exclusive of the value of all benefits or amenities not provided for by a way monetary benefits exceeds 50,000. Any sum paid by the employer in respect of any obligation which but for such payment would have been payable by the assessee. Obligation of employee met by employer. Any sum payable by the employer, whether directly or through a fund other than the recognized provident fund or approved superannuation fund or a deposit linked insurance fund, to effect an assurance on the life of the assessee or to effect a contract for an annuity. The value of any other fringe benefits or amenity as may be prescribed. Terminal benefits. In this, pension, annuity, retrenchment compensation, and gratuity. And also provident fund. Provident fund scheme is a welfare scheme for the benefit of employees. The employee contributes certain sum to this fund every month, and the employer also contributes certain sum to the provident fund in employee's account. The employer's contribution to the extent of 12% is not chargeable to tax. Leave salary